Welcome to Weasel Digital. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Rebel or New Republic Y-wing bomber. This is a really solid ship, very high survivability. However, it lacks a lot in dogfighting capability. With all the new players coming into the game right now, I really wanted to go over some potential builds to help those new players be able to contribute a little bit more in battles. So, we're going to be looking at the Y-wing. We're going to be looking at several different builds. Some are specifically focused for dogfighting, but this is not a great ship for dogfighting. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to try to use it in dogfighting. A lot of people, especially newer players, will look at it and go, look, it's got a lot more hull, a lot more shields than some of the other options. It's going to survive better. But your lack of maneuverability is going to hurt you so much that you're kind of a sitting duck out there. So let's get into this. Our first build is going to be a fleet battle specific build. You're not going to want to use this in dogfights. This is built for fleet battles. And it is just a basic bomber build. What we're going to be doing with this one is we're going to be throwing on our Rotary Cannon. Rotary Cannon does 641 DPS, shoots very fast, does a lot of damage, 1,000-meter range. There are two downsides to this weapon. One of them is it has a 1.4 second wind-up time. This makes it pretty bad against other ships in a dogfighting situation. It also has a 50% maneuverability penalty, so when you're using this, you're going to turn a lot slower, again, hurting your dogfighting capability. In any kind of situation where you're going to be shooting at other fighters, you're going to much rather have the standard laser cannon. It sacrifices a lot of damage, but in that 1.4 second wind-up time, you're going to be doing this damage, where you're not doing any damage here. The lack of maneuverability penalty makes it so that you're going to keep your aim on targets better. But this build that we're doing is specifically for bombing the capital ships. You're going to be going after those light cruisers or the Star Destroyer. And that's where this cannon really comes in handy, because those guys aren't moving. They're sitting ducks, easy things to hit. Our left auxiliary is going to be the beam cannon. Beam cannon does have a 1.5 second wind-up time. It does have a 90% maneuverability penalty, but we're going to be targeting, again, capital ships that aren't moving. It lasts for 3 seconds and does over 1,000 damage per second. So you're going to get 3,000 damage out of this beam. Basically what happens is that when you're on approach to a capital ship, just before you get to that 1,000-meter range, you're going to want to start charging up both weapons. So around 1,100 meters, you start your wind up for your main cannon and your beam cannon. Then once you hit 1,000 meters, both of them are charged up and they're firing, so that you're going to do the most potential damage that you can. Your right auxiliary is going to be your proton bombs. You have 5 bombs. They do 1,100 damage each. You can fire them off very quickly at 1 per second. Most of the time, you're going to be dropping these very close to your target. When you're making your approach against their light cruisers, you're going to be coming in at them. Power to engines. Power is almost always to engines on this build. Build up your shields when you deploy, but then switch to engines. When you get to that 1,000 meters, you open up with your beam cannon and your main rotary cannon. Do that damage on your approach. Then you're going to want to get between the shields and the hull of the ship and drop those proton bombs. Just boom, 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 boom. You'll do a lot of damage to hull. You might blow up some turrets. Your beams and rotary cannon will do damage to shields, or if the shield's already down, they're going to be doing damage to the hull. And those bombs are going to help do a lot of damage. At that point with this build, what you're going to do is you're going to turn back to your allied lines and you're going to hit your boost. You should have a fully charged boost at that point, and you're going to fly back to your side of the battlefield. Hopefully your frigates are still up. If they are, you can stop and get repairs and rearmed there. Otherwise, you're going to go all the way back to your capital ship, dock, and deploy again. Make sure you're watching that morale when you're doing that longer docking process, because if things are turning against you and you need to swap out to something else, you can. It's really nice if you have a support ship on your side that's kind of playing back and is actually doing repairs and shielding and stuff. Because on your way back, they can hit you and then you can make a quicker turnaround to do another attack run. Countermeasures here are going to be seeker warheads. It's just a better option for you. Missiles can be coming in from any direction. You're not going to be able to dodge missiles or necessarily put them behind you to use the chaff particles. And the sensor jammer has such a long cooldown with only one ammo that it's really not useful. We are going to be going with the reinforced hull on this one. This isn't a super fast ship. You're going to take lots of damage from the capital ships you're trying to bomb. You're also going to attract a lot of attention from enemy players. So having that increased health for your hull is going to give you that survivability that you can make it back behind friendly lines to get repaired again. We're going to use our Rey Shields. Most of our damage is going to be coming from laser weaponry, primary damage. So reducing that by 25% is very helpful. We have countermeasures to deal with missiles. So that's what's hopefully going to keep us safe from those. And on this one, we're going to be using our standard sublight engine. So all in all, that gives us a hull of almost 2,000 with shields of 1,200. Max speed of 110, which is not super fast, but is okay. Lower acceleration, lower maneuverability, which means making that turn and whatnot is going to be tough. We're going to have a lot of limited ability to dogfight, especially with the weapon choices we have with that beam cannon and with our rotary cannon. You're not going to be doing a whole heck a lot of maneuverability here. So you make your attack run, hit them with the beam and the rotary cannon, duck below the shields, drop those bombs, return back for repair and refit. There is one alternative you can play with on this one, and that's swapping out our standard engines for the unstable sublight engine.
You're gonna like that.
That lowers our health and lowers our shields a bit. Overall, you still have more health than you would normally. It does increase our speed a little bit, and our acceleration maneuverability are sitting a little bit better. What this does for you is it gives you that exploding engine.
Coming right up.
And where that comes into play is if you are in a situation where you don't think you're going to be able to make it back to friendly lines, you make that bombing run, you're still close to that capital ship when you get blown up by the enemy, then you're good. Your engines are going to explode. You'll hopefully do some damage to enemy players and to that capital ship. Maybe if you're lucky, even some AI ships. The increased speed is kind of helpful. I typically, though, like the sublight engines, I'm typically able to get back behind friendly lines and rearm and repair with this build. Our next build is specifically for fleet battles also, and it is a shield breaker build. It is built strategically to disrupt enemy shields on capital ships. Again, you're not using this for dogfighting. That's not the purpose. Primary weapon is going to be that ion cannon, which does almost 2,000 DPS. That's ion damage. It's not going to do a lot to hull, but it's going to help take out shields. Left auxiliary is going to be our ion bomb. 4,000 ion damage from each bomb, and you have 10 of those bombs. Right auxiliary is going to be proton bombs. You have 5 of those, and they do 1,100 damage. So you're going to make your approach. You're going to open up with that ion cannon. You're then, once you make that further approach in, you get below, or you get close to the enemy ship, you're going to stay outside of the shields with this one, and you're going to drop those ion bombs to take out those shields. If you're not sure if you're going to take them out, you can double up by dropping the proton bombs at the same time. Otherwise, the hope here is that you nail the shields down and then can drop the proton bombs on the unprotected hull. Either way, though, you're doing a lot of ion damage with this. It's going to help strip shields very quickly. If you watch your morale meter and kind of anticipate it, again, you're going to be able to switch to this ship ahead of time and start making that attack run. If you can strip the shields off those Imperial cruisers out there early on, that's great. That allows the rest of your team to just do damage straight to the hull. If you strip the shields off one of the Imperial cruisers, then turn towards the other Imperial cruiser and start stripping the shields off it too. Again, as an alternative, you can put on the unstable sublight engine, which does that explosion effect once you get blown up, gives a little speed and acceleration. I prefer the standard engine. Again, I can tend to make multiple attack runs with this thing. So pretty good weapon for taking out those shields. Also pretty effective against the Star Destroyer for ripping its shields down. And if the shields are down, using the ion weaponry on the different components, the shield generators or the targeting computer, for instance, does have an effect. So that's our shield breaker build. The next build I'm going to talk about is one for dogfighting. Can be used for dogfighting in fleet battles, is pretty effective in dogfighting matches also. And I call it the kneecapper. This Y-wing bomber is specialized for one specific purpose here. We're going to go with our standard laser cannon. Sure, it's weaker, but we don't have that maneuverability penalty or the wind-up time. So when people are in our sights, we can actually shoot them and do damage. Left auxiliary is going to be our automatic ion cannon. Has a cooldown of 19 seconds, but a duration of 21 seconds. So you're going to trigger it off. It's going to run for 21 seconds. You're then going to have to wait 19 seconds before you can use it again. It's pretty good. It's better than on 50% of the time. It is automatic and targets those enemies automatically. It is extremely effective against the Imperial ships. Against the interceptors and the TIE fighters, it's going to go straight towards disabling them. Same with the bombers. It's going to go towards disabling them, just shutting them down entirely. Against your Reapers and your Defenders, it's going to first strip their shields. And for the Defenders, that's really all they have for defense is shields. And then, if it's still shooting them, it's going to hopefully disable them too. That is the purpose of this, is anyone that comes in behind you is attacking you. You can hit them with this ion cannon, and it will hopefully disable them, do some damage to them, something. Our right auxiliary is the Seeker Mine. Seeker Mines are pretty darn effective. They do 900 damage. That's enough to take out a lot of ships. That damage can hit hard, can finish targets off. Seeker Mines have very strong homing. They last for 10 seconds when you deploy them. Anything that gets within 200 meters sets them off. They have a 9-second cooldown between use, but as you can see, you can actually get more than one on the field at a time because of that. And ammo capacity is 6. These things are deadly. Again, if anyone's chasing you, you can use the Seeker Mine and hopefully get them off your tail. The combination of those two auxiliary weapons is amazing. If someone is coming at you, you can use the ion cannon, let that deploy and shoot for a couple seconds, then drop that mine. Hopefully you'll disable your pursuer and they'll float helplessly into the mine that you've then dropped. So anytime you're being pursued, you can fire those off. You can use them offensively too. If you're doing a joust type situation, you're going to be passing by them, drop that mine a little early. Once they pass you, they'll hopefully trigger that mine. So this isn't a half bad ship in dogfights because of that. It can be very annoying to those Imperial ships. We are going to go with our Seeker warheads again. This time we're going to use a dampener hull. It makes the hostile lock time take much longer, twice as long. So you're going to be less likely to have missiles fired at you. You lose a little bit of health for that, but that's worth the trade-off. So between the dampener hull and your seeker warheads, you should be safe from missiles. Our shields, we're going with our Rey Shields. Most of the damage you're going to be taking is going to be from primary weaponry. So being able to reduce that is useful. And between our hull and our seeker warheads, we shouldn't be taking many secondary weapon hits. Then we're going to be using our jet engine. The jet engine increases the generation of boost, but also increases the usage of your boost. The reason we want this in our dogfights is this ship, the Y-wing, is going to depend heavily on boost turns, boost to escape players, things like that. So having a quick boost generation is going to be very useful for staying alive. So this ship, you're going to get out there, you're going to fire with your standard laser cannons. Anyone gets behind you or becomes a threat to you, hit those ion cannons and the seeker mine. Hopefully you'll disable them, float them right into those mines. Fairly effective dogfighter. Maintains the high hull and shields while maintaining the speed, acceleration, maneuverability of your base Y-wing bomber. It's not going to be a great dogfighter, but it gives you a little more health, a little bit of defensive ability. The next build is what I call the Jouster. It is specifically for dogfight matches and only in specific cases on specific matches. There's a couple maps in dogfight that have a very situational thing that'll happen. A good example is Yavin. The other one is the Xavian Abyss. On Yavin, it's a wide open map. You spawn in on two opposite sides and you engage in a joust to begin with. After that initial joust, whoever controls the center of the map, whoever comes out of that joust ahead and can get a solid control, you'll just have a ball of fighters in the middle of the Yavin map. Everyone else spawns on the outside in different random positions and is exposed. So that controlling team then can send 2 or 3 fighters out at each spawning enemy player and just take them out in a very advantageous situation. So once a team can control the center of Yavin, it's typically kind of match over at that point. This ship is designed to help break that hold. Xavian Abyss is a little bit different setup, but the same thing happens. Xavian Abyss is basically a large tube. Think of it like a toilet paper roll. You spawn originally on the outer 2 sides, you fly to the middle and have combat. Whoever wins that engagement, if they can keep a ball of fighters in the middle, the opponents then spawn on either end of that tube and have to fly to the middle. That means typically their spawning is split up on the 2 different sides, and the people in the middle can react to that by flying back and forth and outnumbering the spawning enemy units. So again, if you're on that losing side of that equation and the enemy has that ball of fighters in the middle, it's hard to break that. Using the interceptor class ships are too light. They're too much of a glass cannon. They just get destroyed. Even more defensive ships like the X-Wing or TIE Fighter are going to get destroyed in those kind of situations. The Y-Wing bomber has the right equipment to create a threat against that defensive team. The point here is to try to get in, get a kill or maybe 2, put some damage on multiple units. You want to try to meet up with one of your allies when you make this approach, but it gives you at least a chance to survive for a while, do some damage, maybe knock out some opponents, and give the rest of your team a chance to spawn and back you up and help recover or take that center field. So, with this build, we're going to be using our standard laser cannon. Now, in a joust situation, the rotary cannon isn't too bad, but that wind-up time and the lack of maneuverability really hurts you. If you survive past the initial joust, having that rotary cannon is really going to hurt you. So we go with our standard laser cannon. Left auxiliary, we're going to be using our assault shield. Now the assault shield is really meant to be used while making attack approaches on capital ships, but I don't find it's really all that useful for that. What it does do well is for a jousting situation. This reduces incoming damage by 90%. It only works for 3 seconds and has a 20-second cooldown. You also have a maneuverability penalty of 75% while using the assault shield. But that's okay. In these situations, you're going to be flying straight towards the enemy, probably at about half speed, so you have some maneuverability. Once they get into firing range, so that 1,000-meter range, you start firing at them and you pop off this shield. That gives you 3 seconds where their incoming damage is reduced by 90%. If you throw your shields towards front, that should help you block almost all that incoming damage for those 3 seconds. Hopefully during that 3 seconds you can knock out a target and hopefully set them up for shooting some missiles at them. Once that 3 seconds is up, you're probably going to be flying past each other. Then it's going to be dogfighting time. So then you're going to be reverting back to normal type maneuverability and using your blasters to do the best you can and survive as long as you can. Our right auxiliary is our multi-lock missiles. In both of these situations, on Xavian Abyss and on Yavin, you're typically going to have more than one attacker coming in on you. This allows you to target up to 4 different attackers that are coming in. And what you do is that it starts locking at 1,000 meters. You wait until you get 2 or 3 targets, or however many are coming at you. Fire those missiles off. You're going to send out several different missiles at several different targets. Again, the plan with this ship is to hopefully take out 1 or more fighters while doing damage to a lot of fighters, so that the rest of your team has an easier time trying to assault that middle support area. It is a long cooldown on this. Locks are required, but they do have medium homing. Concussion missiles do 1,000. These do 750, so a little bit weaker than concussion missiles, but you can fire out 4 of them at 4 different targets. For countermeasures, we are going to be using our Seeker warheads. We're going head-on-head with this. We're jousting, so particle burst behind you isn't going to be helpful. Sensor jammers, again, that long cooldown just kind of kills it, so Seeker warheads is the way to go. We're going to be doing a dampener hull to make it harder for them to lock on us. You could go reinforced hull here, but then that lowers your maneuverability. So if you survive the initial joust, you're going to be almost worthless if you have this reinforced hull. So that's why the dampener hull really makes the day here. Shields, again, most of your damage is going to be coming from primary weapons, so reducing that damage helps. That, coupled with the 90% reduction, means all of that incoming blaster fire for those 3 seconds is really going to do almost nothing to you. For engines, we are going to use our standard sublight engines. You could swap these out for the Quad-X jet engine, or even the slam engines if you really wanted. Jet engines would probably be a better option. If you survive the initial exchange, you can switch your power over to engines and have some more maneuverability. I stick with the sublights for this one. That gives you a pretty standard set of stats here. A little bit of a hull loss due to your hull, but our max shields is still 1,200. We still have the same default max speed, acceleration, maneuverability. So okay in a dogfight situation. Lots of forward survivability for that initial exchange so that we can try to break that kind of blockade hold they have on the center. Allow your team to maybe swap sides. Now our last build is going to be back to fleet battles. And this build is specifically meant to farm AI kills. In fleet battles, you get points for knocking out enemy players, and that moves your morale bar. When the morale bar gets full, you go on offense. When it goes full all the way to the enemy side, they go on offense, and you're now on defense. Well, there's 2 times when farming those AI players can be worth quite a lot. Those AI ships out there typically travel in 5-ship squads. If you can hunt them down, you can kill them easily with this ship. And they provide morale points. When you're on defense, they provide 3 morale points per kill. If you can take out a squad of 5, that is 15 morale that you put to your side. If you knock out a player, you're only going to get 10 morale points. So AI hunting is very effective at the start of a battle when you're trying to decide the initial exchange of who gets to attack first, and anytime you're on defense. AI farming can be very, very effective at helping your team out because it gets that morale moving. Do not AI farm on offense. It's not a good use of your time. When you're on offense, AI fighters only count for 1 point of morale. At that point, you'd be better off doing something else. I highly recommend that this is really for organized teams. Organized teams will definitely have at least 1 AI farmer, maybe 2 in some cases. Having 2 can really make that early game go quick to flip to your side. However, if you're single queuing for fleet battles and you're not a rookie player, please stay away from this. In those situations, a skilled player, someone that's good at piloting ships, is better as a defender to stop enemy attacks against your capital ships when you're on defense. This is a better thing for a solo queuing rookie player to do. So, looking at this, we're going to go with our standard laser cannon. AIs don't have a lot of health. It's pretty easy to knock them out. Standard laser cannon's fine, and you don't lose that maneuverability. Left auxiliary is going to be our Goliath missile. When this missile hits, it does 1,000 damage, but has an area effect of 200 meters. So if you hit the center ship in an AI squad, you can oftentimes knock out the entire squad of AI ships, giving you 5 really super easy kills. Again, you're going to be doing this on defense. When you're on offense, those AI kills are only worth 1 point of morale. It's not worth your time. For a right auxiliary, we go with the multi-lock missiles. It can target 4 ships, do 750 damage per ship. Again, this is a great way to target an entire squad of those AI fighters and then fire off those missiles, and then they're going to get blown up by your missiles while you turn your attention elsewhere. Those 2 systems will be very effective. Alternate them. Fire off your multi-lock missile at a group. Find another group. Fire off your Goliath missile. Then use your standard lasers while you're waiting for those to refresh. Then fire them off again. Countermeasures, we're going to go with Seeker warheads. You're probably not going to be seeing a lot of action where you need to use these, but that's what I would go with. Same for dampener hull. Not a lot of times you're going to be getting a lot of missile locks on you. You're going to be playing in the backfield, hopefully not gaining a lot of attention, but you have them in case you need them. Rey Shields, the AI fighters will shoot at you with their primary weapons, so this helps reduce that damage a little bit, make sure that you don't get hurt too much. And for this one, I like to go with the unstable sublight engines. I'm not too worried about the loss of health and shields. Plus, if an enemy player does come along to hunt me down, when he blows me up, my explosion may hopefully take out some more AI fighters or even that attacker. So that's our build for taking out AI ships. It's very effective. Skilled players can get huge kill counts of AIs, but please, if you're a skilled player, do not leave rookie players to do all the defense. They're not going to be good at it, and your skill is going to be better there. Let someone else hunt those AIs. It does take a little bit of skill here to really use this effectively to try to find where those guys are going to be hiding, target them all, and get that routine going. But if you struggle to really be worth much on defense in fleet battles, this is a great way to make yourself useful. If you struggle to attack those incoming bombers, if you're just overwhelmed with what's going on, this allows you to stay back a little bit, hunt down those squads of TIE fighters, shoot them down, and gain points for your side. So not a bad ship at all. So again, that That AI farmer takes a little bit of skill, but not too much. It's a great way for a rookie player to actually still be useful to a team by just hunting those down. Jouster is probably kind of a lower to mid-level skill level. Higher level skill is going to be able to make this a little more effective. Your kneecapper is more for a medium to high skilled player. You're taking a Y-wing into a dogfighting situation, which it's not really good for, but it's not a bad way to use it. Shield breaker and your basic bomber are both very easy to use by new players. The shield breaker is a little bit tougher because you do have to time it out when you're going to use it so that you're not wasting your ion weapons on unprotected hulls. All in all, I hope this makes you a little more comfortable with the Y-wing. Gives you a couple really useful builds. A basic bomber. If you're doing nothing else in fleet battles on offense, making bombing runs against their capital ships is great. Shield breaker makes the rest of your team more effective. Kneecapper isn't a bad defensive build for dogfights. Jousters are used to break those holds on Yavin and Xavian Abyss. And then the AI farmer, if you're not very good on defense, fleet battles, this is how you can be. So you can just switch between this AI farmer on defense and like a basic bomber on offense in fleet battles and actually really contribute to your team without having to worry about shooting down enemy fighters. So great beginner builds there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.